I'm Sharon Brunner, and I represent Misty Sacapano along with James Terrell. We're very happy and we're honored to have her good friend Dennis Rodman here today to talk about her situation, along with Misty, about the abuse that she suffered at the hands of San Bernardino County deputy sheriffs. Misty, would you please talk a little bit about what brutality you recently suffered?
Yes, I was a witness to an altercation of some sort, and deputies arrived on scene, and two came in and kind of cleared the room, and then a third one came up, and all guns were drawn and pointed at me. The third officer came up and turned his assault rifle around to where he brought it up above his head and then hit me with the butt of the rifle in the nose. And then my knees buckled and I went unconscious and passed out due to that.
Yeah, we'd like to point out that she would have been completely in compliance with any lawful order given by the police. And that butt stroke given with the M16 is a combat move. We're lucky that she's with us, that she didn't have a broken neck, or that she's dead. And this simply exemplifies what Sharon and I, and now we're going to get Mr. Rodman to talk about, is the fact is that this is a brutality problem. It's just out of control.
Well, and unfortunately, Misty's case is not that uncommon. We're seeing an increase, although the department will deny it, we're seeing an increase in the brutality at the hands of San Bernardino County Deputy Sheriff's Office. There are several cases that have gone on. Misty has suffered major damage to her face. She lost consciousness. She's now in treatment. She's having to seek out having surgeries performed and things like that. But there's also other victims in this county who have lost their lives. And unfortunately, I'm sure that most of you know the San Bernardino District Attorney's Office has declined to prosecute any of the officers on these cases, especially in the shooting cases involving Nate Pickett, and most recently Lawana Phillips, Deontay Yarber. There's been a case with Lawana Phillips recently where she was shot and killed on 7th Street on October 2nd. And I know that Mr. Rodman, in talking to us, he's been watching some of these stories, especially because his good friend has now been a victim. This has become very personal to him, and I know that he wants to make a couple comments.
You guys have any questions?
Misty, where did the incident take place?
At the Green Tree in
When was
Victorville.
it?
It was April 7th.
April 7th this year?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
And I know that Mr. Rodman had also talked about the fact is that he was even aware of older cases in San Bernardino. He's aware of the Pusaw case where the guy was beat on the horse. So he's followed this for a while.
Yeah, it's very difficult to, I came all the way from Newport Beach, and I got aware of this a few months ago, and it's kind of difficult to really try to make sense to this, because I've seen this around the world, and I guess a lot of people remember when we went to Washington D.C. when young kids got shot in Florida, and they had a big rally in Washington D.C. or the Capitol, and I was there, and a bunch of other stars was there, and we went there. It was very beautiful how the kids went there, expressed themselves how things have been very corrupt around the country. But I think the fact that when they had the conference there, and everyone was really focusing on the kids that would go up there and speaking, but then afterwards it became on blind ears and blind eyes, and the fact that the next day they accused all the celebrities and all the entertainers for taking away the spotlight from what was going on, and that's been going around the world now pretty much, especially in the United States. And I thought we was going there to make awareness and try to have some type of open eyes and see what's really going on in America. But I guess that corruption is everywhere, and even in San Bernardino County here, I've been aware of the fact that I passed by this county a lot going certain places. But I was talking to the lawyers here. They were saying that it's been going on for so long, and it's pretty much on deaf ears, and for people to not understand, when you get when you get brutalized, especially with law enforcement, they're supposed to protect you. They're supposed to
That's
protect
right.
you. They're supposed to protect you. And when you see people go on TV and try to explain what really happens, and all of a sudden now, you know, if you don't keep awareness of it, it goes away. And now I think the fact that since she's been my assistant and she's been in my life for she used to work for me a long time ago, years ago, and she's been my assistant for a while now, and I just feel like that's my duty, you know, because I do this around the world, and people ask me, I go to school, I talk about it, and people actually listen, and for me to come up here to bring awareness, I have no problem with this, you know, because I mean back in the 60s and the 70s, I remember we used to get beat down with the cops, you know, in the project, stuff like that. No one gave a shit, or gave anything. But now, since we're almost going into the 21st century, I think we should really be aware of what's really going on, you know, because, I mean, you could go down the street right now and you probably see someone getting, you know, assaulted or da-da-da-da. But I do care about people. I think people know that around the world. I do get emotional about things like that because I don't work for money. I don't really care about what's going on. As far as I want things to be right. And I think that for San Bernardino County has to take accountable for what's going on here. I think someone needs to be in the office over there, district attorney, or even the judges and stuff like that, and come together and say, you know, we gotta stop this. It has to stop sooner or later because, you know, somebody, you know, she said the case in 2015 when a woman got shot 7 times, and basically in this county didn't do anything about it, really, and she had 3 kids. I don't think that woman deserved to be shot 7 times. You know, there's other ways you can handle something like that. But, you know, other cases around San Bernardino, man, it's going behind blind ears and blind eyes. I think it has to stop those, seriously. If I have to come back down here, you know, once a month and try to make awareness, I would do that to make sure that everyone understands that I'm behind this 100%. And I do care about her, care about a kid, I care about a family. I think the fact that, you know what, you know, she only weighs 90 pounds. And for them to just bust down the door and look at her and hit her in the face with a rifle. And then on top of that, seriously, and turn the cameras off. Really, guys? And turn the cameras off. And if you talk to these officers, they'll sit there and say, well, we don't know what you're talking about. Wait a minute, hold on. You know, and then when she goes to the hospital, this is more incredible. The first thing the nurses asked her, what happened? Well, I got hit in the face with a gun. A cop hit me in my face. I'm like, really? And it's just puzzling me how they supposed to protect us. You know, any circumstance, they supposed to protect us. And I think this is very wrong. The fact that these beautiful people here are really taking a stance, and hopefully that Maya being here, and hopefully coming back and try to bring more awareness and people come rally around us and try to stop this. You know, it's not gonna stop overnight. At least have the awareness and understand, you know what, this is enough. It's basically enough. You know, you can't have the politicians in San Bernardino County to sit there and say, well, what are we gonna do about this? What are we gonna do about this? And all of a sudden now they go home. No, wait a minute, hold on, we gotta solve this one way or the other. It's gonna take a month or 2 months. We gotta solve this and try to make some kind of type of correction and how we're gonna handle this. Because this is happening too much and too often, you know. So that's why I'm here to share my voice about this whole situation.
I'd like to say is that Sharon and I have filed about 100 civil rights cases about brutality and excessive force. And we've asked to speak to anyone. We've asked to get answers from the FBI. We've asked for answers from the sheriff. And we're sitting here with this Mr. Rodman, and we're delighted that not only is he here today, but he's going to be coming back and participating. This is very exciting news, Sharon.
Right, I mean, and the fact is that we do need change, as Mr. Rodman is indicating. I mean, we have Luana Phillips, she's got 3 orphan children. Those children don't have a father and they don't have a mother. We have a grieving mother, Dominic Archibald, who still grieves for Nate Pickett, killed in 2015. We've got Deontay Yarber from Barstow. He's got 3 orphaned, daughters. They have mothers, but they will never have their father in their lives. Misty now has to have facial surgery. She's going to have permanent scarring. She could have been seriously suffered brain damage. We don't even know the extent of it right now. But again, it was unnecessary and excessive. And I think it's also important to note, and I've said this before, this isn't an anti-law enforcement campaign. There are officers that are not doing the appropriate thing, that are using excessive force, or there are also deputies on the force that don't need to be on the force. But the reality is that there's no accountability. There's been no prosecution. The district attorney's office continues to decline to prosecute any of these deputies, and that leaves the families feeling victimized yet again. So until there are actual changes coming from the top, and as Mr. Rodman indicated, and we all know there's a new district attorney coming into office in January. We're delighted with that, we're encouraged by that, and that's promising, but there has to be some changes made. This could happen to any one of your family members, we brought that up before, and until you actually go through the pain and the hurt and the embarrassment and the shame, like Misty's explained to me when she did nothing wrong, you don't understand, but you really need to try to understand, because it could happen to you or your family.
Right. And if this new district attorney doesn't change things, doesn't shake up the system, get rid of the gentleman that's been involved in making the decisions on the officers involved shooting, if he's not gone and the rest of them aren't gone and there's no change, then we need to do something to get rid of that district attorney immediately. So we're going to give him a chance. We want to see some action. And just like what Mr. Rodman said, he's the one that's supposed to be doing something. He's the district attorney.
Yeah. I just want to add something too. It was amazing how, it's amazing that the fact that when you guys, everyone around the world knew that that was going to North Korea, right? Mm-hmm. And I went there, I've been there 7, 8 times now. When I first started going to North Korea, people really downplayed it and more like, okay, no, what's he going over there for? And my whole thing was more like, trying to get peace around the world, trying to get North Korea and America together. And then, I think like 3 years ago, I went there, did a basketball game, and it was amazing though. After the game, I came back here, and I was telling people, I said, wow, people in America really, I was a foreigner. I was a foreigner. All of a sudden, I got hate, man. People want to kill me, this and this, and this. And I think you guys saw me, I got so emotional when it was so overwhelming, so I had to go hide from the people I love in America. I had to go hide for like 45 days. And after that, I think everyone knows this past year, when Donald Trump went with Kim Jong-un over in Singapore, and I was over there, and I went over there just to see what was going to happen. And all the things I did those 7 years came into one meeting, five hours. And it was amazing when I went on TV that the fact that I got so emotional, I was so overwhelmed, the fact that it actually happened. And I was telling people it's going to happen, things are going to change. And Donald Trump went in there. It was amazing how he went in there and saying that, I can see, I can tell if I'm gonna like this guy or not. And I've been telling this people around the world, I said, I like Kim Jong-un. He's only 34 years old. He's like a kid to me. And I said, he's a nice guy. I don't know what he does around the world. That's not my job. That's the White House. But when they said they were gonna have a meeting and they came out shaking hands and both smiling, that right there was so gratifying for me, because I worked so hard to do that, to keep those guys, America and North Korea together, and all the politicians didn't do anything, couldn't do it, but I got so involved with it, and all of a sudden it came together, and now it is so funny now, there's going to be another summit in 2 months, and I'll be there.
All right.
I'll be there.
Yes.
And so, you know what, things come awry, and guess what, and I'm just so fortunate the fact that I'm very gifted and doing things like this, and people know that my heart is always right here. If you need my help, my heart is always there. And I wouldn't do this if it didn't mean anything to me. And these people here, they put their life on the line every day, go in the courtroom, looking at judges, and sometimes they get frustrated, but you know what? In the end, things got to be positive. It has to be positive. That's what we work for. That's what we give our lives up for. And I just want to see things that go in some type of good direction. And sometimes people say it's about money, but it's not really. It's about money because it's security for people, but it's about justice and try to keep things on the right path. try to keep things on the right path. And I just want everyone in the world to know, especially in this county, especially in the state of California, it's very difficult to understand how force is needed and force not to be needed. You know, they teach you how to be patient with people that's under duress. They don't teach you how to draw your guns and all of a sudden if someone does something wrong, all of a sudden shoot them or hit them across the face or do anything to them. You know, we learned that from Rodney King back in the day. And I guess so. I said, wow, you know, all of a sudden now it's still happening. So I think, you know, we have to have some type of curve line around here and try to at least help people be safe to understand, you know, they can call the cops. It's great. Things gonna things gonna go the right way. And I think this time, I think people should open their eyes to understand one thing. We need protection no matter how you look at it. And these people here are trying to do that in the San Bernardino County. And hopefully it'll go well this time. And hopefully the people would open their ears and their eyes to see what's going on.
Right.
Any questions?
What are some of the first things that you would like to see the county implement or do to kind of say, hey, we are going in the right direction, they are listening to us, and what are some of the things that they, you know, that could be done right away to kind of help you guys to say that they are paying attention and listening to what you guys are saying?
I think if I might help with that, I think that there's a lot of things in Riverside County. Jim and I have worked with the ACLU, we've met with them, we've talked to them about some of the changes that have been made, you know, nationwide. Riverside County has done an excellent job in setting up a citizen oversight committee where they talk about having the community come in and talk about the problems with law enforcement. That has worked well. There's more transparency. We would like to see more transparency. We're aware now that some of the radio calls now are not made available to the public. That's an issue of concern. We also know that the police department and sheriff's department wants to hold on to the videos. In the Deontay Yarber shooting, there was a cry for the release of the videos because law enforcement puts out one version of the events, but then doesn't back it up with the actual video. So we'd like to see more transparency. There's no reason to hold on to these videos, these recordings. We know that in the city of Victorville that the officers are not wearing body cams. They need to be wearing body cams. That's a technology that's available, and there's no reason not to have those. So there's a lot of things that I think this county could do that it doesn't do, and I think that it's tending to go backwards in my opinion.
Yeah, and I just find it fascinating because we do this all the time. And here's Mr. Rodman talking about, all of a sudden the cameras get turned off.
Right.
The tapes get turned off.
Right.
Like he's been doing the 100 cases with us. That's exactly right.
But it's funny though, we can laugh and joke about things like that, but it's amazing how if you see these damn TV shows, and now you see shows like Cops with Cams and stuff like that, and it's so funny how they're making so much money off this. They're making so much money off this, embarrassing people. Embarrassing people, and people don't realize that. But it's like they're so happy for doing these things so they can be stars on TV and stuff like that, reality stars. But I said, this is more serious than trying to be on TV. This is more like trying to get things together, trying to correct things that's really concerning in this county. And I think that, you know, police, the law enforcement should understand that. And, you know, even with the like I said, I'm not here to talk about black, white, Chinese, Mexican, this. It's happening to everybody here in this county. More so than LA, pretty much. More so it's like, wow. And this is a county here. It's pretty much, it's like, wow, you know. And people say, you know, you never know. You don't know that it's the fact that it's San Bernardino County, man. They do a lot of, they shoot black people, they shoot this, they shoot that. I said, I'm not getting involved with that. I'm saying it's about everybody. It ain't about the color, brother. It ain't about the color. It's the fact that know your P's and Q's and understand why you're a law enforcement officer. Understand what you designed to do. You try to help people, not destroy people. So that's the key right there.
For the incident with Misty, have you identified the deputies that were involved?
We have some theories. We're right now getting all of our documents together for the case. We've started the case, so we're working right now on the lawsuit that will be filed. So, and of course we'll get all that information through discovery.
Right. And one of the things that the ACLU had made an agreement with the Sheriff's Department was excessive force was supposed to be turned over immediately without any type of confidentiality clause to those folks when they write reports and making them available to it. Transparency is the issue. Transparency is the issue, and it's one that San Bernardino is evasive in hiring. And just to bring that up, Sharon and I brought up just a little point a little while ago. Charles Foster, who was convicted as a felony for beating up Mr. Pusak, was hired back on the department and hidden in secret from us. So Mr. Rodman also talked about being fair and being transparent, and that's what we need.
Well, and you talk about, Deputy Woods, who shot and killed Nathaniel Pickett in 2015, then in 2018 shot, Ryan Martinez because he was still on the force. He's still on the force as we know it. We don't have it confirmed, but we believe the shooter of Lawana Phillips is still working. So that's where our concerns come into play. We also would like to see more training. We'd like to see more background checks done. When you have officers on a force that have been convicted in the past of hate crimes, obviously we don't find that to be appropriate. And we think that maybe some sensitivity training. One of the things that Dominic Archibald is doing on behalf of Nate Pickett is actually wanting to see that law enforcement, as part of their academy training, that they hear from the family members of victims who have been shot by law enforcement, so they can hear how it devastates an entire family and that devastation never goes away. It would also be good to hear from those individuals that are who have survived a beating, a brutal attack, so they can hear how that affects that person for the rest of their lives. Because it's not just the incident, that incident has ripples and waves of effect for years and years to come.
If I may add, suffering post-traumatic stress disorder and being afraid of law enforcement, where they're supposed to protect me, and I don't feel that anymore. I'm very uncomfortable, and it's shifted everything in my life. So, yeah, and you have to be, in these shoes to experience it and understand it, but to bring light to it, it's important to me as well, for not just myself but for others.
We've heard that from several of our clients. We have a client right now like Misty who actually, when she had to confront the person the officer, the deputy that brutalized her, she actually broke down in tears and was crying in the courtroom. And Misty has expressed the same thing to us, that she doesn't view law enforcement in the same light, that she doesn't trust them, that she's in fear of them, and that's not how she was raised, and that's not a fear that she had before this incident.
And we're very, very glad that Mr. Rodman is here today and going to be in the future with us. And this brings it international, because we need help.
Right.
And Sharon and I work 18 hours a day on civil rights cases, and that doesn't include the letters from people that we receive or the family members that are just coming in. Just having him present and making this really an international crisis is so important. Thank you.
Very grateful.
Thank you.
Okay?